Good afternoon, Speed Gaming, and welcome to this edition of the Link to the Past Randomizer Season 3 Invitational Playoffs. Today we're featuring a Game 4 matchup between the 2019 Titansmiths of 2019, represented by SailorNep, and Error 216, represented by thalane. And this is going to be a fun one today. I've got Zeke Highwind over there in the booth with me, and I'm Zaruvian, of course. Zeke, say hello.
Hello. Yeah, like you said, we've got a fun race here. We are at a point where SailorNep and 2019 Titansmiths needs to win to have another shot to move forward. If thalane wins, Error 216 moves on to the... Is it the Conference Championship at this point next?
I feel like I should know the answer to that.
But we're playing Standard. Randomizer, all dungeons with vanilla swords.
Yep, we've got a fun group of settings, and we have Randomizer and vanilla swords guarantees that our runners are going to have a sword and escape, and Uncle has no idea what's going on.
And we have bombs for back of escape, too.
That's pretty nice. I do believe this is full Randomizer, so we're going to see an overworld enemy shuffle as well as a boss shuffles. This will play a lot like just standard Randomizer with that quirk in the swords. And, of course, in the standard opening, usually Uncle will give you a randomized item. Because it is vanilla swords, you're going to see a sword here no matter what.
It's like it's randomized to be a sword.
It was a really quick map check by thalane. I did see a pendant on desert and 2 crystals in the light world.
And Tower of Hera was a bomb crystal.
And that's more bombs for us, so no problem having to use bombs to make things a little bit easier, possibly, depending on what got rolled to join us in this castle escape here.
Most notably, I believe, bombs are one of the easiest ways to take care of Hinoxes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the Hinox will die to 1 bomb. Not their own, but one you threw at them, of course. And the lobby's showing us a couple Popos and a Ropa, nothing too threatening here.
A couple Popos and their big brother. Help, the castle's been invaded by snakes. Or at least baskets of snakes.
I'm already seeing people calling out for Trinex to be in Skullwoods. Trinex cannot be in Skullwoods. He does not fit in Mothula's arena. I did see SailorNep make a remark on the file name that they would like to see Ice Trinex on the seed.
Don't we all?
Everyone wants to play against Ice Trinex, right? It's the best fight ever.
So it's worth noting that with our modes, we have all dungeons, but we do not have the usually paired with all dungeons setting Key Sanity. So we know that all dungeon items will be in their normal spots. I might be mistaken, hold on.
No, there's no Key Sanity.
I'm getting mixed up with my settings across the board sometimes. But with no Key Sanity, we will know that the dungeon items are in their normal dungeons.
Yeah, being that it is all dungeons, you're going to be able to see how many of the bosses are going to be in rooted positions than they are normally.
The first step is, unless it's Mothula, there's always going to be a rooter boss in Skullwoods than their normal spot. And we have even more bombs.
Everybody loving that mode command. We have all dungeons, full Randomizer, vanilla swords, and obviously we are seeing the standard open right now.
Normal item pool and standard dungeon item placement.
And good old Randomizer decided to respawn that berry, so this becomes a kill room again.
That berry is one of the ruder enemies to place, just because of splitting.
Yeah, normally you dispatch them with like a hook shot or a fire rod to prevent that, or make it easier to kill, but, you know, this early we don't have any of those weapons yet.
One other thing to note is we will be getting a small key in Dark Cross. Now, the sewers are a place that tend to be pretty scary in Randomizer. Let's be honest here. Lots of close corridors, and it really has a lot of enemies it can shuffle together.
And that first dark room, or the second room, that rope section of the basement is full of enemies. There's like 6 or 7 ropes that would normally spawn in there. That can turn into 6 or 7 mini Helmas or hard hat beetles or even Hinoxes. Not uncommon to see Beamos or Crystal Rollers in the Dark Cross room. We're going to see just what they are up against here and how these two runners happen to try to tackle it.
Starting off with a spike trap from the side.
And both taking it, that sneaky spike taking a heart out. Of course, a heart in that pot right there.
This room is remarkably tame, although getting past some of these enemies is brutal. Just because they like to sit still.
I still think the rudest thing we've seen so far are those spikes.
Spikes in dark rooms. That's fair.
Hey, at least it's a side-to-side spike and not the big yellow trap.
This is true. I also saw a Beamos blast. That's a Lionel.
Things have gotten a little bit more interesting here. There's a thief. In this mode, of course, thieves are rolled in League to be always killable.
Sometimes I wish they were killable in the normal game.
Don't we all, Zeke?
Levers, big yellow spikes. This sewer has it all, doesn't it?
And we see a hook shot coming out of that leftmost chest in the back of Escape. That's going to be a nice grab for both of our runners. Good to move around with. And also, our first bit of progression that may be telling us something.
I love that brief hesitation from the lane, trying to figure out what to do with these spikes.
And Nep didn't even hesitate, just walked right on through.
And then the back of the sanctuary is filled with guards.
Yeah, all things considered, not one of the ruder sewers we've seen between Week 7 and any of the Randomizer races we've had here in playoffs. That's a glove, Zeke.
That is a glove. Glove doesn't actually unlock much for us right now. Because as we're in standard, and we had bombs, we already picked up the back of Escape. And the lane gets hit by a guard because his hook shot ran into a guard's vision.
Yeah, some of these enemies do have invisible vision lines that the hook shot will get stopped by, and that's, it's kind of rude when it does happen. I was going to say, with the glove and the hook shot, in normal circumstances, you might consider just shooting up the mountain, but you don't want to trust in a dark Randomizer room without the lamp.
And we simultaneously see both Lost Woods checks, and they're both big 20s. They're called the Lost Woods because somebody lost their money in them.
Here's our first real piece of divergence. The lane has decided to save and quit and is going to South Shore.
I've seen some discussion on the idea of putting off Kakariko, and I'm not completely against the idea, because imagine if you found something like the flute in South Shore before you did Kakariko.
Well, conversely, imagine you find the flute in Kakariko.
That's about the only argument I have on the other direction. The water gate is even more harmless than usual, as the spike doesn't even go your way.
Alright, SailorNep in Blind Hut finds a red boomerang. Oh boy, is that a hammer. Oh my goodness.
Well, that immediately paid out for the lane, didn't it? Because the hammer, in addition to being part of Dark World access, also is a better weapon than a fighter sword.
That's going to make some of the enemized areas a little bit easier to have to tango with here, as that hookshot makes quick work of the shadows of Mini Moldworm Cave. Let's see what we got waiting in here. A blue mail, that's always nice to have an Randomizer. And
But not
nothing
much
else of
else.
note. Yeah.
It's still being more productive than these Kakariko Village checks at the moment. But that is our first bottle. And the boots!
And that's the one thing you might worry about, is leaving something like boots sitting in Kakariko Village. If they come in early and you wait for a while to get them, it's that much more time that your opponent's spending dashing around. We have a French vanilla bottle on the bottle merch. It is pre-filled. So that's interesting.
This is relatively tame for Randomizer. And thalane is picking up our Ice Rod Cave check. For the Titan's mitts!
So right now we have boots, 2 gloves, a hammer, a hookshot, and a mail.
We are 1 item from Dark World Access, that item being the Moon Pearl.
And strictly the Moon Pearl. There's really nothing else we need. That's a book.
Sick Kid's giving us his heavy-looking readings there.
Shoutouts to our tracker, Railin Tank here, says, go mode Moon Pearl. It's more likely than you think. In this case.
That's nice.
Oh my god, that's a nice rod. What is the seed?
Kind of... It's kind of being nice.
See, SailorNep's going to be able to do one thing that thalane was not able to do while they were in South Shore, is with the boots, we can set up a water walk to go to Zora.
And I think there might be enough money to do so from the south area. Although with that...
Nice bush spike. Not even a bush, a grass spike.
Oh, that was joyous. With that book, we also can go to desert.
Now, conversely, thalane does have one thing that they can do that SailorNep couldn't do. With the boots, if they decide to go back towards Sanctuary, can get King's Tomb, as they've already picked up the mitts out of Ice Rod Cave.
And yes, chat, that spike was rude. Chat also points out that SailorNep skipped the floodgate. And I'm thinking Nep may go back to do the floodgate and go west to desert with that book. Because with the book, that gives you more incentive to go toward desert and Agina.
Yeah, and that's kind of how you'll see some of our runners decide to route one way and then the other, South Shore into desert, just to kind of get Agina out of the way early and not orphan a Sphere 1 check. Not often does it pay off, but when it does, oh, it's huge, because you never know when your opponent might wait to pick that up. And that's mitts for SailorNep, opting not to try walking on water with all the animized Zoras that have turned into much more dangerous things. Did see a fire snake in there, so I can't really blame anybody for not wanting to try that.
Surprisingly, Nep's going to Saha's closet. We will see Saha's closet and see what's inside. It's also worth noting that you have a chance of being able to finish Eastern, although it would be in the dark in Randomizer, which is just not very much fun.
Alright, given that a pass after a look there, I think we might be seeing some boots checks from both runners here. No? This is Nep going, yeah. And they're converging back on King's Tomb here.
I mean, the game has very easily pointed us here with boots and mitts already.
Chances that this is our Moon Pearl? It's not.
Looks like a 0.
Could still be in Bonk Rocks, too, with that mitts just being in an awful spot. And with the gloves, we do have the chance that Zora has something, but we might be waiting to see that until later.
And inside this other boots check, we have the Moon Pearl.
Oh boy. Okay, so the Moon Pearl is locked simply by boots, and those gloves are just in spots. And SailorNep still does not have that hammer.
And SailorNep is checking the north side.
SailorNep is going to go see what's on the Lumberjack ledge.
As thalane is going to the Dark World for our first visit. Just a full heart container on Lumberjack today.
I think SailorNep is going to pair this with a dark mountain climb. Oh, you bet. Oh, that roller is in a really bad position for getting around Skullwoods.
It's also a long one, which makes it even harder to deal with. So how many enemies in Skullwoods are doing at least 2 hearts of damage right now? It looks like a lot.
Too many.
Look at all these keys that got turned into much scarier enemies. And Nep has made it out of the old man cave.
Nice BMOS location. Now we do have all of Paradox Cave and Dark Death Mountain that Nep can just clean up right now.
But without that hammer, we cannot get to Tower of Hera for Nep.
Yeah, with that Moon Pearl showing up where it did, I almost have to wonder what it's going to take for Nep to go back and get that hammer, possibly waiting for a Swamp Palace dive at this point.
Speckle Rock has nothing for us.
I would like to point out, by the way, we do have access to our second sword already. As with the acquisition of Mitts, you can go ahead and rescue the Smith from the Dark World. With vanilla swords, he's guaranteed to give you an upgrade.
This is true. On the plus side for us vanilla swords, we are playing all dungeons, so it is not out of the question to acquire your 4th sword off of pedestal. Or 3rd. But you can skip out on pedestal or pyramid fairy and just stick on tempered.
And I would imagine most runners in this situation, you don't need much more than tempered really to finish the game, and it does get more comfortable to have tempered over mastered. But the amount of time that it might take to go out of your way to get that gold sword, probably going to see that a pass.
It depends entirely on where our pendants are at this point. As I do not think we've had a Dark World map check, and there's our blue boomerang. And paratrooping Stalfos Knights.
Now, SailorNep not getting much of anything out of Paradox 5, primarily red rupees, so again, over 500, we're still possibly looking to see whether or not anyone's going to gamble on the Scamfish. Probably not at this point, knowing how much progression is already available to us.
There's a lot of spikes in the Village of Outcasts today. This is... Putting an anti-fairy in this room is awful.
Nep very impatiently dashing a few paces at a time in place behind these... Oh, God.
No.
And dodging the Moldworm, but not the... Oh, the Gibdo. The Gibdo is in a bad spot. Okay, we're good. That roller is in a bad spot.
Everything's in a bad spot.
And it's just more money.
As the lane is picking up our hammer pegs check. And SailorNep is going to Dark Death Mountain. We are 18 minutes in, and we have a Dark Death Mountain check.
And we're going to be able to get everything that's up here except Turtle Rock and Spike Cave. And now we have our map check. We have a pendant on Turtle Rock. The green pendant is at Swamp Palace.
We have a pendant Turtle Rock, and we have an Ice Rod already?
We're also in Boss Shuffle.
Yes, we are.
Are you implying that you'd like to see a vanilla Trinex?
Oh, always.
Vanilla Trinex is one of those things you really don't want to see, especially if you're like, oh, it's boss shuffle. I don't need an ice rod to finish this dungeon. Womp womp. There's an ether.
I'm always a fan of vanilla Trinex because Trinex in other rooms I've found tends to lag, so... And I don't like lag.
And that's our third bottle for Thalane after a bunch of digs. Okay, so it's Quake to enter Turtle Rock for later. That ether may still yet be required if we have those illustrious vanilla medallion requirements to enter those two dungeons, and those being Mire and Turtle Rock. We already see Quake for TR.
Meanwhile, Hookshot Cave has the mirror.
Oh my.
That's big. Because that's going to make routing the Dark World even easier for SailorNep.
And in a twist of expectance, Mushroom is on Stumpy.
And amusingly, you remember when I said we couldn't get to Tower of Hera because we didn't have the hammer? We have a mirror. We can do it.
What about a hammer? Let's just take care of Hera right now, right? And even if you need a fire source to finish this dungeon, that's not going to stop SailorNep, because with boots and a hookshot, we're going to see possibly a Hera pot here, no matter what. And there's that key in the basement cage. But the lane is checking Hive Cave, so any of these things we don't have yet, like a bow or a cane, could possibly be here.
Or magic powder.
Or a fire rod.
Or a fire rod.
Wow, okay. That's pretty huge, actually. Doesn't that put us in boss mode already?
We don't have a bow. Bow doesn't affect bosses.
Yeah, bow doesn't...
My brain always forgets that bow isn't a boss thing, it's just a dungeon thing. I guess it does put us in boss mode.
Wow, 21-minute boss mode. Interesting. Okay. So the Froggy World Tour continues. We're going to check the Pyramids of Hyrule, and that's a cold stare at the top of Hera. So no go for SailorNep.
And SailorNep is giving us our Ether Medallion check. For a heart container.
All in all, a pretty good set of routing for SailorNep. And now we're probably going to see Village of Outcasts from their side. And we're about to see Catfish from Thalane. This is the Froggy World Tour always stops at Catfish. Okay, wait, that counts?
I'm surprised that rock counted there. One of the convenient things of having the mirror is Nep can pick up the blacksmith and take the purple chest on the tour down to the old man who will unlock it for you.
Nep is also going to not have to orphan a couple checks such as K45 and the Bombos read after having done so, or before in the case of K45.
But the one thing that the lane has done that Nep cannot is hammer picks.
And that might be something that Nep's going to have to go back to do later. Also, that powder is something that we're probably going to see checked in a moment as well, as the lane picks up their second sword off the smith.
And this is like you said, this with the vanilla swords, the smith is a check that both runners will want to do.
And chat pointing out something that's actually a pretty good point is with that mirror, that's going to intensify the idea of being able to check the dam while you're in the area with the purple chest. So Nep is not far behind from picking up that hammer, and thusly might even take a dive into Swamp Palace after we find flippers. Or if we find flippers beforehand, because that is possible too.
The biggest question is going to be, at this point, when is Thalane going to go up the mountain to get that mirror?
And that's a pretty interesting question, because with all of this open to us right now, Thalane is going to go to the back of Skull Woods, I would imagine, and have a gander at who is waiting for us there.
What's your favorite boss in the Skullwoods arena? Because everyone likes to find out that question. Because it does funny things to bosses.
It does do some interesting things to bosses. That same property that prevents Moth from taking damage on spikes because Moth is immune to Sword 4 type of damage makes things a little bit easier and makes Cold Stare actually my favorite boss to fight in that arena.
I'm still a big fan of Helmasaur.
Oh, everybody loves Helmicopter. And we could very well see one.
I'm pretty sure chat would like to see one, let's be honest here. As Nep picks up their Master Sword from the Smiths, and we'll be picking up the purple chest to take on the south route.
Interestingly, Nep deciding not to dive into Thieves Town. I don't think we saw Thalane do it either. Honestly, when you don't have the weapons necessary to kill all of your bosses, this is the right move to make. And if you're joining us late, chat, this is an all dungeons full Randomizer, so we have the overworld enemies and a boss shuffle, and we have vanilla swords. And our runner started in the standard escape. That's just a green rupee, so far, oh.
That's not a pleasant room with bowless Armos Knights.
At the very least, you can knock the Armos Knights into the spikes, and they will take about 6 hits to knock down that way, I think.
But still.
Armos Knight, where are you going? Are you okay?
Like I said, this room breaks bosses left and right.
Oh, dear.
Are you watching the Armos Knights just completely glitch out?
Yep. Alright, so SailorNep is about to get their fire rod. As Thalane is dancing with,
The lane does have a health potion. But...
Alright, this gets kind of tragic, this guy in the corner, just stuck here.
He's
he will eventually,
stuck.
He will eventually wiggle free and come after Thalane, but at that point it's a little too late. So that's our first boss down, our first dungeon, and that is our first crystal for Thalane at the 27-minute mark.
Only 6 more of those, 3 more pendants, and 2 wizard kills to go.
You know what feels bad when you find both green rupees in a matter of minutes?
That does feel pretty bad, yeah.
So Nep's going to pick up a hammer, and I would hope to see a Bombos tablet read. Probably going to go back in that direction, actually.
Now that Thalane's boss fight has finished our laughing case here, where do you think Thalane will go next?
I have to feel like Thalane's going to dive into Thieves Town while they're here. Still got a couple things to clean up in Village of Outcasts first. And SailorNep has pulled out the mushroom and set up the fake flipper. I've never seen that bonk setup before. I might have to adopt that.
That bonk setup is actually extremely simple because it... Oh! That 0!
That 0 zeroed in on SailorNep, and we'll probably have to try again.
0 zeroed in on SailorNep and zeroed out the health bar.
I think we're going to take the safer path this time.
I always forget you can hook shot over that gap.
Usually it's faster, or at least simpler, to just do the fake flipper south of Link's house, but in this mode with that 0 where it is, maybe not. Oh, hello, flippers. That threat is over. And that is the ability to go into swamp and ice for our runners here.
That's a full clearable swamp palace.
It sure is. And we are actually going to see Nep go down to... Yeah, it's looking like that's the play here. Or is this going to Agina?
Nep, Agina, and or Bombos, because Nep's portal is still by the thief. And that's another Armos Knights for the lane! So, 3 bosses in the boss shuffle used in the league settings, but 3 bosses are double fought to represent the Ganos Tower refights with the Armos Knights, the Land Molas, and Moldorm. The Armos Knights are our first duplicate.
And that means we will not see another Armos Knights, nor will we see Armos Knights on the ice in GT Basement if we have to go, which means something a little bit more dastardly is waiting for us down there.
It might not be more dastardly, let's be honest here.
It could just be... I mean, most things on ice aren't very nice to fight here. So, I mean... Oh, pulling out the Fire Rod. Nice call there by thalane. Getting now a second crystal by cleaning up Thieves Town.
As Nep dives into a Rouge Spike at Swamp Palace.
Well then, okay.
The lane picking up the purple chest.
Well, now thalane's picked up the purple chest. You don't want to accidentally save and quit and realize, hey, it's not following me.
That's when you orphan it.
So what I find interesting, that mirror, so far as we know it, is still very out of logic, because we haven't seen either a lamp or a flute to get up to Death Mountain. So where are those 2 items chilling out?
My guess is desert. Either
honestly, that would be mine too here.
Because at the moment, this Swamp Palace is out of logic, so we will not find one of the 2 items here.
You could see something game-ending here, though. Okay, so the lamp is locked by the mirror on Death Mountain. That means we have a flute somewhere.
That means there's a flute. We might see that here soon on the lane side.
Here's another thought. We haven't seen Eastern or Pod yet, either.
Right, there is an Eastern in the pod.
Oh, sneaky Wallmaster. How dare you?
Don't you love Wallmasters?
No.
I know that.
You know that very well.
But Wallmasters can get randomized into the enemy pool, but Wallmasters in vanilla locations cannot be enemized out.
So in Skullwoods and parts of GT, you're still going to see Wallmasters, but in areas you might not expect to see one, such as in Ice Palace or here in Swamp, they can come down from the ceiling while you're setting up Diver Down, and you don't notice until you're being lifted back to the front.
That is why it is advisable that when you're playing Enemizer, and it's paired with a Stalfos Knight to make it even harder to detect.
Jeez. And Wallmasters share a super tile, so that one's going to keep dropping in this room.
But Wallmasters are one of the more irritating enemies, but at least you can tell they're coming when you hear that slide whistle.
That was right on cue, Zeke.
Was it? Right. I actually have the sound muted.
As soon as you did, a Wallmaster fell from the ceiling. It was probably the most uncanny. And we're seeing a Cane of Samaria pulled out of Desert Palace for Thalane. That's going to make some things a little bit more attractive. For example, that Ice Palace dive.
The red cane. Wondered where it got put. Meanwhile, SailorNep is on left side swamp. Who likes left side swamp?
Right now, it's a Fletcher's Paradise. There's some arrows.
Can it be the other part of Fletcher's Paradise and have a bow? No, but it can have the big key. That's
So
a vanilla big
effectively,
key.
one, possibly two items on left side swamp. Not exactly paying out big for us here. I feel like if you do Swamp Palace early, you're always going to do left side swamp, though.
Oh, I mean, I do left side swamp even when I'm doing it late, unless I'm, in go mode. So one item, it was 10 arrows. That did not pay off very well.
All right, what do we have waiting for us in Desert? We have a blind.
We have a thief. The hard part with this fight is because it's blind in a refight setting, you can't get a script.
Making good use of that Cane of Samaria, though, is the lane. Script? Who needs a script?
That's
It's a cape.
We know Bumper Cave is nothing, but the cape is still a fantastic safety. This Green Pendant Swamp Dive is enticing because Green Pendant, and we are in boss mode, so this is an obtainable pendant, although I'm not sure I want to do 5 heart blue mail Trinex. Do you?
How about Argus in a dry room?
Easy enough.
And we're finally going to see the Agena check after flirting with it for a bit.
There's
and
a
it is
bow.
a bow. Wow.
So that opens up Pod and Eastern in the logic. It also opens up the Pod boss.
It does open up the Pod boss, and we know that Pod is one of our 256 crystals gating a sword. Nice 4 Fire Rod shot kill for SailorNep.
It's also worth noting on that Pod trip that the lane does not have the lamp. Is the lane going to eat the 0 here?
No, the Zero decided to flitter off for the lane. That's kind of nice, actually, of the AI to do that. But in a moment, the lane's going swimming, and Nep's going to check Bombos now.
This still leaves us a question, where is the flute?
This is a pretty wise selection by Thalane to pick up a green potion on the off chance you see something like a Trinex and have less than full magic, or a cold stare. With the Fire Rod, you need a full magic bar to begin with, just to melt that shield around him.
And SailorNep will be going into Desert Palace.
Which means SailorNep will be picking up a Cane of Samaria in a moment.
And the lane is checking Zora area, including this check of Waterfall Ferry that just came to logic with those flippers.
A question from chat, has the lane not been to the mountain yet? That is correct. The lane has dodged the mountain. And as we know, we're looking for flute because the mirror, which allows you to get into Swamp Palace, gated the lamp, which means our mountain access is going to be through a flute.
For those wondering how that works, the mirror was in Hookshot Cave.
Alright, Scamfish, what have you got for us today?
I'm gonna guess 20 rupees.
With 28 of them in the main item pool, you can't go wrong with 20 rupees.
It's not really a commentator's curse when you put 20 rupees on Zora, because that's expected at this point in our life.
Negative 96% return on income feels bad, man. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Thank you for rescuing the cane from the torch before it caught fire. Now,
I appreciate that.
Now, I feel like Thalane here is going to dive into Ice Palace. Can't do Swamp, doesn't have a mirror. But Nep is going to be able to go ahead and do both Pod and Eastern in succession here, because I don't see any world in which they leave the bow.
Hey, do you like anti-fairies on ice?
They are floating, you are not. Advantage to whom?
The viewers, because they get to laugh.
You know, if we do see an ice Trinex, we all win.
Why? Why is this always what this room is like?
Forget this room. What about the room to the east?
Oh, I'm expecting thieves in there.
I'm expecting at least one yellow trap. Okay, it's just a silver spike. That's perfectly fine.
And two.
No! Better be good at your your icebreaker. You're not staying in this room. There's your flute. It's in Ice Palace. That is exactly what the lane needed to go up the mountain and get back into logic here. With the fire rod, we'll be able to take down Hera while they're up there.
So, it's worth noting that with the flute find, we are precisely 2 items we are precisely at most 2 items from go mode. Because we need at least Quake and possibly Bombos. Because we have not seen that Meyer medallion.
And I would almost imagine that that's probably the first place the lane is going to go.
A lot of runners are in that mindset of, as soon as you get Meyer access, check Meyer.
I mean, not just for the information, because you kind of need to know what you need to get into Meyer. In this particular circumstance, that's your go mode knowledge. Because you're going to go up the mountain either way, and if you can get into TR, you will, but you'd rather check things that may have the item you need beforehand.
And I am wrong. It's not go. It is no mode. And that's a rude spot for a Lionel because we can't kill it without using a hammer.
And the last item, I believe, is on whatever the boss is in this dungeon.
Honestly, I will continue to just refer to the checks by the vanilla boss names until proven otherwise.
Vanilla until proven not vanilla. Is this even randomized? Instead of the meme question, it's become the eternal question. Alright, so this is Nep going into Palace of Darkness, opting to wait to turn in that green pendant until afterward.
It makes sense to put it off, because you want to finish these 2 dungeons before going over there. That's a lag room.
That's literally all that room is, isn't it? Oof. Floating skulls hurt. Do not walk into floating skulls.
I was watching to see if the lane got 1.0'd there.
We have a Helmasaur in the frozen chambers of Ice Palace.
This is pretty simple at this point.
Yeah, this is textbook Helmasaur fight. No spikes behind him. All you have to do is dodge all of his attacks, and if you've played this game enough, that's a pretty easy ask. And that Berna, even though Spike Key was already in logic, kind of points to it again.
Okay, I will admit, I am impressed with the hammer kill on Helmasaur. Without extending the sword. It might have been a spin speed hammer extension, but That is still not an easy hitbox to land on the Helmasaur.
Yeah, just straight hammering Helmasaur's gem after you've taken off the mask is not an easy task to have here for anybody, really. This room that's normally a kill room with the bow has turned into something a little bit simpler.
It looks like half the rooms in Palace of Darkness now.
So, you know, forget everything else that we've already seen. It's the one thing that we don't know and the things that we haven't seen yet. Where are all of our medallions at?
You're asking the eternal question of where's Quake?
Quake? It's always Quake.
It's always Quake.
Except when it's Ether.
And when it's not Ether or Quake, it's Bombos.
Well, it's almost never Bombos, unless Bombos is getting Fire Rod, in which case it's Ice Palace. But we've already seen Ice Palace, so it's not that.
As Thalane is sending us to Misery Mire.
Chat is asking us, where was Ether? Ether was in Super Bunny Cave. And Ether is required to get into Mire, so it's a double climb mountain to clean up Mire.
And it's a vanilla medallion seed?
Yes, it is. And not having a mirror, Thalane has to save and quit out of Mire Shed.
And gracing the Helmasaur's room today, it's an 8-eyed Moldorm.
It is a figure of our dreams. And nightmares. 8 eyes. Those googly eyes when you hit him, my goodness. It's almost like... Oh my. Okay, we're gonna see a hobo check from Thalane here. This is something you might actually just put off for a while. There's no really easy time to route this in, even with the mirror. And it's not paying off anything.
It is an easy enough thing to route for SailorNep at this point, though.
And Nep is going to go back in, having decided to rush the boss.
I mean, she had the spare key.
Well, yeah. Even with yeah, there's no way the game doesn't give you a spare key. You need 2 keys, one to be able to get to the boss, one to be able to get to the back. You're guaranteed 4 keys in the front in some fashion. Well, we will see Tower of Hera in its entirety if Thalane opts to pick up the big key out of the basement.
It is also worth noting that the decision that made to rush the boss is also in part due to having the magic mirror.
This is true, because we can just mirror out to the front and go straight to Eastern after we cleaned up all the items back here. That's a single arrow. Yay! And we have nothing to really shoot it at.
And with the keys, with there not being nice catch, with there not being a key in the turtle room or 2 keys in basement, Harmless Hellway is a key.
Yeah, keys can't be in Dark Maze. If you see 1 key and you have Dark Maze and Harmless Hellway left, that Harmless Hellway is a key. You can pass on that easy.
Isn't there like a 1-item possible layout to put a key in Dark Maze?
There's one in Vanilla, but I don't believe the Randomizer's key logic allows it to happen. So in just a moment, Thalane is going to have everything that they need to go into Misery Mire. Except for the lamp. And Mire's Dark Room and Randomizer really isn't quite as bad as most of them in other areas of the game.
As SailorNep tackles Eastern Palace.
And that'll be an extra heart container for Thalane. So we're almost 50 minutes in. We're still only on 8 hearts blue mail, which, you know, our runners are... We're in Invitational. These two runners, their names speak for themselves. They are fantastic and can probably finish the game on what they have now. Not that it would be the most comfortable thing in the world.
I mean, both of these teams are extremely good teams. Because the lane is on the team that actually was in the lead of the division, and SailorNep and the 2019 Titansmiths of 2019 had to go through a pretty serious tiebreaker gauntlet to get through the because it was based on, I want to say, at least 2 different matches in the last week to determine seeding of the top 3. But this room's always hectic in the Randomizer.
I am not expecting this to be too troublesome for Thalane here, with the Fire Rod and a full health and a green potion to boot. We're going to see that green potion get sipped right now. See, Cold Stairs Puffs have almost nowhere to go in this arena, so unless you take a knock and get popped off the side, it's actually not too bad.
So what boss do you think is going to be here in Eastern?
I'm expecting a Lamulus. It's been a bit. Oh, it's free. It's Moth.
When you take Moth out of Mothula's arena, Mothula is a joke. As demonstrated by SailorNep.
Is there a Moth there? I don't remember. And just like that, the lane has taken out Cold Stare as well. And that is our first 5/6 crystal for the lane, and SailorNep having the other one out of pod.
And on our green pendant turn-in today is just a piece of art.
Alrighty, the lane going to continue on here with East Death Mountain, and I think we'll see SailorNep decide to go into Ice. Maybe not. Are they thinking about going up to Hera again?
They may be thinking about... They may be going for Hera for the sword.
That actually wouldn't be a bad call to make here. It's a little bit out of the way, but that offensive improvement you get from Master Sword to Tempered is absolutely worth the time. When you have so much left.
Especially where we're missing Quake to get the one off the pedestal, which could still be in Ganon's tower.
That's right. We do have that all dungeons quirk where you could see that an item in Ganon's tower unlocks your last pendant.
Hook speed Herapod. The hard part is getting it down consistently. But it is the easiest setup. And there is Ether for the lane.
So the lane has the knowledge that Nep has not, because Nep has not been to Ice Palace to get a flute. The lane can go into Mire and clean up that whole dungeon.
Does Nep have a green potion?
I think Nep has a blue potion.
Close enough.
Very well cleaned up by SailorNep.
So I imagine we will be seeing a Pyramid Fairy trip very shortly.
First, we're going to see Spike Cave.
Yay, Spike Cave!
And at this point, only needing the knowledge of a medallion on our point of view is kind of interesting to see this call when Nep's still looking for flute as well.
And we have our check of Sauce Closet for Thalane.
And if this was a slot machine, that'd be cherry, bar.
Congratulations, you lost your money.
Yeah, this is absolutely the Pyramid Fairy play for SailorNep, and there is a second item next to that sword, and that could be progression. It's one check, granted, but it could still be progression.
More importantly, it is far easier combat.
Well, yeah, a 4x payout. You had a heart container refill because we finished a full heart.
I'm sorry, I don't know slot machines, so I'm just making things up to go along with Zaru here.
You know, it's sad because I live in Reno, Nevada, and I still don't know what gambling is like. Unless I'm playing Randomizer. And
I'm pretty sure
this is a gamble
gambling
I would make along with Nep here.
I'm pretty sure gambling and Randomizer is just losing.
So that's a tempered sword for SailorNet, and sitting next to it is another full heart. Okay.
Not entirely unwelcome. Because we still haven't seen some of our more dangerous bosses. We've seen a Cold Stare. But there's still a Vitreous and a Trinex hiding here somewhere, and we will likely meet them.
And
because
there's at least one of each of these, actually.
Yeah, there's still a chance of 2 of those. I think there's still a chance of 2 of each of those.
So far, the only duplicate we have seen has been Armos Knights. Chat is saying, is Thalane in go mode? No, Thalane still needs Quake to enter Turtle Rock, and it is all dungeons, so that Quake may very well be in Ganon's Tower.
And logically, they need a lamp. But who cares about that?
I mean, you do care about the lamp, but you also don't care about the lamp, because in this case, the lamp is going to make rooms like this a lot easier to traverse without, you know, running into a Lionel in the dark, for example. But on the other hand, dark rooms? Answering the question from chat, the lamp was in Swamp Palace.
SailorNep making a brief potion stop.
No, Lionel in the Dark sounds more like a parody cover of Dio.
I can get where... No, I can see where chat's getting with the Iron Maiden, given that Iron Maiden did Afraid of the Dark, but... I do agree it sounds like a parody of Rainbow in the Dark.
So we'll get a heart off a catfish, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see Nep go ahead and mirror take this portal and go into Ice Palace, and that is exactly what we're going to see. Which means Nep's going to have a flute, and instead of having to go up the mountain to go into Mire, we'll be able to go straight into Mire. Still has to clean up Skullwoods and Thieves Town, although that's not a tall ask.
It's especially easy in Randomizer because unlike in the vanilla game, or non-Randomizer Randomizer, the boss is already in Blind's Arena. You don't have to do any silliness like going to the back and getting the boss. I don't think we saw the back, and there could easily be. I don't remember if there's items in the back for thieves, but
I also do not recall. Of course, early enough, you probably don't want to dive into thieves unless you're seriously looking for one item. In this case, the one item we'll probably be looking for is going to be Quake. And to answer chat, yes, the mushroom was turned in. The mushroom have to be flippers on this seed.
and amusingly, both runners attempted to fake flipper to the witch to turn in. One of them succeeded.
See, we know we don't need it for the seed, but one of the things that you probably would like in Randomizer, just for rooms like this, would be bombos.
Oh, the magic I win button for these rooms.
The, destroy all enemies in this room button, yes. Ooh, almost getting knocked into the Wall Master with SailorNep. Just barely getting knocked away instead.
I will admit, when it comes to Randomizer, this is one room I do not care for in the dark. This dungeon.
There's one thing that actually, she's got... Yeah, she's gonna have to use a potion here. Nep has next to no magic for this icebreaker, so... Oof. And that's why you pick up 2.
I'm having a little trouble with the icebreaker. Doesn't help that you're kind of pressured for time because of our friend the Wallmaster. Because Wallmasters are always in Ice Palace, I've found.
And Wallmasters and Ice Palace are no friend of mine, I'll say that. So that's the flute, so that puts Nep in Medallion Hunt.
That puts both runners in Medallion Hunt, doesn't it?
Put both of our runners in GT mode, really.
So this comes down to, you could gamble in this seed, because there is the possibility of gambling that, oh hey, I have everything except for an item for a pendant dungeon. It could be in Ganon's Tower. I'm with the dungeons left. It's not a gamble I'd be against either.
And it is a gamble that thalane is going to be able to make before Nep. Just based on the dungeons that Nep still has to finish up. We have Skullwoods and Thieves Town. Pretty easy to get to the bosses in both of those, but having already cleaned them up, thalane does have a step up here.
But SailorNep will have an easier time dealing with at least the Thieves Town one because of the bow.
Well, they're both Armos. So that bow, you're worried more about not having the ammo to take them both down, but we also have Kena Burna in the wings here.
Yes, but one of them is in Skullwoods, and that's just...
That's where you would use the Burna, though. Alright, so that is crystal number 4 for SailorNep. She's probably thinking that flute to Meyer is what she needs to do next here.
Well, to be fair, she doesn't know she's in GT mode.
Yeah, not until she looks at the medallion on top of Meyer. Lamp is in fact in Swamp. And thalane has yet to go to Swamp, although thalane is probably also knowing that they are in GT mode and may go mode Swamp as well.
And they'd still get the lamp. Provided they do... Provided they open the checks along the way.
There's also one check we haven't seen with that mirror in the Mire area, and that is Checkerboard Cave.
The item pickup just messed up the bomb knockback there.
And this dark maze is not cozy when you have different enemies than you're used to. The Kadondos are at least, they telegraph their position when they spit fire. You can see the rope on the Hinox, but that Hinox can throw bombs in places that you might not be able to dodge. And good read by Nep, noticing that, you know, the logic's pointing me this way. This medallion is almost certainly what I need to get in. So Nep now knows she is in GT mode, and Misery Mire's kill room's in the front here. We could see a lot of something rude or a lot of nothing.
And it's looking a little more rude today. I have seen the greatest Mire 2 in history, though, so everything's rude compared to it.
Are you referring to the room where they were all popos?
I am referring to the room where they were all popos.
All things considered, not too bad, especially with the weapons in our arsenal right now. Pretty sure a quirk of the Randomizer guarantees that any kill room would give you enemies that are capable of being killed with just bombs. So you can't just get soft locked out of being able to progress.
Sometimes that's an unfortunate side effect, as we've seen some power races before.
Okay, so the lane is opting to go at these mirror checks. That's the other Greg. And we haven't seen Graveyard Ledge yet, have we?
We have not.
And no God Mire today. So we are going on a big key hunt.
My bet's always cutscene.
Luckily, there is a tell in the, I believe it's the compass chest?
If this is a key, it can't be the big key, I believe. Well, actually, if this is a key, it has to be the big key, I believe.
That is correct.
I had it backwards, so...
And that is probably the last thing you want to see is an item in that chest, because it can mean that it is in the big key chest in its vanilla location, and it could also mean it's on the right side here. I've seen both ways. And it's on the right side today. Interestingly, Nep could opt to go look for an item, but I think she is banking on that GT mode being her advantage here. And thalane has an interesting bit of routing that they can do as well. After finishing up Swamp Palace, can go get Tempered Sword, right from where they are.
Let's see how miserable this room is going to be in the dark if thalane does not pick up the lamp. But with the lamp in the diver down check, I don't think thalane skips the lamp here.
Yeah, I don't see any position where thalane skips lamp in this situation, knowing you're still looking for Quake, and it could be anywhere outside of GT, because it is a pendant dungeon. That Quake can be anywhere except, you know, in obvious locations, TR, or on the pedestal as we are in Vanilla Swords.
And also, even if this wasn't Vanilla Swords, it opens a pendant dungeon.
Alright, what do we have waiting for us in Mire? Is this our long-awaited Trinex?
We've not seen Trinex, we've not seen Vitreous.
We've
not seen Lanmolas.
We haven't seen Lanmolas, you are correct. We have not had that Ice Rod for an alarmingly long time. There
and here's
it is.
why. It's our friend. Trinex is actually still easier outside of his dungeon.
And in Enemizer, that ice head will spit ice, but cannot slip up the floor.
I think can it still ice its own floor if it's in its own arena?
I think the Enemizer code breaks it. Regardless, that's a Trinex down for Nep. And that was a lamp for Thalane, opting to skip left side of Swamp. Probably the good move here.
Was that a dungeon item on Trinex there?
It was, in fact, a small key. So we have left an item in Mire, and we'll probably... I would almost imagine that if Quake is not where we're expecting it to be, that's going to be our last location. Chat's pointing out, it's our fish room key. So Nep is going to go check out Checkerboard here, and then I would imagine that is the flute point that takes her up back into Skullwood's Thieves Town.
And our Checkerboard Cave is only a piece of art, which I believe means it has to either be in that second Mire item, in the back of Thieves, or in GT. Or Graveyard Ledge. I don't think we've seen Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just kind of glad we're not in Key Sanity, or we'd be talking about trying to find that and Castle Tower 2.
Sometimes Castle Tower 1.
Alright, so that's the lane knowing there's one item on the left side of Swamp. And the green pendant. So I think still the lane goes up to the pyramid, picks up Tempered Sword, and maybe checks green pendant on the way out. At the edge of the screen transition, in the grass, waiting for you is an Igor. Don't you love Enemizer?
Yes, I do. So there is at least one item. There is at least one item in the pack other than on the Argos Knights.
Interesting she decided to pick up that key. Do you think she intends to go back in?
It's possible. But it's for, I think, one item.
The question is not, why not pick it up? The question is, where's Quake?
It makes sense to pick up the key when you're going through there, because if you need to go back through, it means you don't have to go to the back of the hallway to pick up the key when you next go through.
Here's a piece of routing for you. The lane has opted to take out Castle Tower right now.
You know, I don't blame him.
Actually, this actually makes a lot of sense, because when you do finish up your last dungeon, you can save and quit to the pyramid if you're in the Dark World.
Yeah, I don't disagree with this call to clear Aggle 1 now. It's the best time other than at the end of the game.
Yeah, I'm not worried about whether or not they're going to have the HP from a refill after Aga 1 for the Ganon fight. That's literally just a luxury in this case. With these runners, I would imagine neither of them are even thinking about what their HP situation is going to be like going into Ganon when they get there. They're just going to go in and do their thing.
But this is not like AD keys were typically the small key for AGA 2. The second AGA key typically likes to place itself somewhere like, top of GT.
Pre-mold worm, post-mold worm, places you don't want to find it.
I'd rather find them there than in the basement of GT, usually. Because most of the time you don't have to go out of the way to get those. This time the Armos didn't decide to go flying off into the ceiling.
Instead, it decided to clip itself into the into the other corner of the arena. All right, so we're going to see an active fight from thalane. How many blue balls do you expect today?
The logic in me expects 3. The viewer in me wants to see 15. So we'll probably go somewhere in the middle with like 5.
I think we'll see 4. Although, pretty generous set of patterns already. SailorNep is going to go up to GT, as she has picked up her 7th crystal. That means we have a game to play!
If we do, there are 22 checks in the basement of Gan's Tower. One of them has the Gan's Tower big key. So please put your number of choice in the chat, and we'll have a guessing game to see where it is. So, Zaru, what do you think?
I am thinking we're going to have an early big key and a late quake. So I'm saying 8 for the big key.
I would probably say... I always say 13 for it just because it's my number of choice. But for the big key, this time I would also agree on something early, maybe something like a 5 or 6. And then I'd love to see a big key on the... A big key... Or excuse me, a quake in the big chest.
All right, this game will end the instant Nep steps into the tower.
And we have a finished AGA 1 for thalane. I did not see the end result of that game. And we have entered Gan's Tower. Let the game begin.
There are 30 points up for grabs. Good luck, everybody, and good luck to Nep. Let's see where that quake is waiting. Let's see where that big key is.
The answer is not on the torch, so there's 1. 2 through 5 are here in the M's room. For a small key, the shovel. Oh no, don't do it, game. The small key.
That's 3 keys in DM's room, wow.
If I were doing this strat, I would actually just go straight to the rando room from this point.
The game is throwing everything possible at her to keep her from getting to that chest.
So where's the Wallmaster? So
Chat is saying what everyone is thinking. Quake Lock by Shovel would be hilarious.
I don't want to see Quake locked by Shovel, do you?
I don't want to see anything locked by Shovel. There's Quake!
Thank goodness. All right, so that's number 7 is our Quake. So if you guess 7, you got the Quake guessing game, but we didn't run one of those.
And that does put SailorNep in go mode. And I think a nice piece of routing here. There's 8, it's a compass, 9, 10, 11. A nice piece of routing here would be grab the big key and then just mirror out.
But first, we need to find a big key. So
That is correct.
12 and 13 are here in Hope Room. Hey, our last bottle.
Congratulations, you have all 4 bottles.
This is not number 14, because nobody does this before doing everything else. That is not an endomized Wallmaster, that is normally there, unfortunately. And Chad's right, the lane is not as far behind as it looks because of the Ganon's Tower climb. There's Red Mail. There's Bombos. There's bombs. So that's 14 through 17. 18 is going to be at Bob's chest.
I find this kind of routing rather intriguing, actually. You don't often see this side of GT unless you're in... you know, like an entrance mode where GT comes in early and you don't have the hammer or the hook shot.
Or you're doing DM strats. Because DM strats will skip rando room and such to come this way.
And that is a Trinix down for thalane.
Well...
Oh, this is going to be interesting. It's probably Vidi, actually.
Yeah, it probably is.
It's a Lanmo?
That's actually one of the easier bosses on ice. Easier. Still not easy, because it's still landmills, and they like to short hop a lot.
Is it vanilla? No. It is in check number 20. And that is the right call for Nep stepping out. We're going to see Turtle Rock before we see the top of GT, and that's probably a good thing.
And as such, SailorNep will be going to Turtle Rock, as the lane will climb the mountain to go to Ganon's Tower. And congratulations to the Roti 2952 for guessing 20 and winning 30 points on the Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game.
To answer your question in chat, you do not necessarily need silvers to kill Ganon. Fast Ganon literally only means that the Pyramid Hole is pre-opened. We are in all dungeons, so in order to fight Ganon, you still have to finish Castle Tower. The lane has already done this. So while Nep already has the knowledge to finish GT, once she's done with the Ganon's Tower climb, she has to climb up Castle Tower right afterward.
This is one of those rare seats, Zaru. We actually get to see every endomized boss. And since we have not seen Vitreous yet, I'm going to guess we have at least... I'm going to guess one of those Vitreous is going to be sitting in Moldrum 2.
I was about to say exactly that as soon as you opened your mouth. What other boss haven't we seen yet? We haven't seen a couple duplicates, so...
There's a couple... Yeah, we're missing 2 duplicates and Vitreous.
Could see a vanilla Lamo too, even. You know, that room, usually you're just like, the most satisfying dash in the game is getting the Burna dash through those rollers, and Randomizer takes that away because there are no rollers to be had.
And the fact that the enemies get reshuffled in this dungeon actually makes it significantly easier than usual. Like, this room doesn't have chain chomps, and it's significantly easier.
This room is quite easier. Quite. And chat is talking about how close this race is. It really is very close. Right now, Nep is in her last dungeon. She has the GT Big Key, so she'll be able to finish TR, run across, and climb Ganon's tower. But she still has Castle Tower to finish afterward. Thalane is looking for Quake and about to find it here in just a moment. When Thalane is done with Turtle Rock, they just climb GT and fall straight into Ganon.
Really, this is anybody's race. And we all know that the winner of this race is actually us, because we get to watch this. And this route for GT is, or excuse me, this route for Turtle Rock is going pretty smoothly.
Alright, so we will be having to go get a key on Laser Bridge.
Hopefully it's on Laser Bridge and not in the big chest. That is a possibility.
Luckily, it's such a low percentage chance that you end up with a key in the big chest and not on Laser Bridge, unless that key on Lava Chest happened to be. The item delay for the bomb explosion to kill that Hinox was actually pretty clever. That key on the first check of Laser Bridge working out pretty well. And could this be a Vitreous? Or could it be a duplicate?
If this is Vitreous, we know one of the duplicates will be Mothula, Moldorm, Cold Stare, Vitreous, or Helmasaur.
It's a duplicate Argus.
So we have a Vitreous and a duplicate hiding in Ganon's tower. And I would almost say Vitreous is going to be Moldorm too.
Almost certainly at this point, right? Alright, SailorNep has finished all dungeons except GT and Castle Tower, so we're about to see what the Randomizer Gauntlet looks like.
Randomizer Gauntlet tends to be scary.
And chat is now calling for double Vidi.
We want all the eyeballs. That's why we need another Moldorm.
Another 8-eyed Moldorm? Please no. And straight up for SailorNep, having picked up the big key already. We'll be seeing Thalane do the very same in just a moment after they've cleaned up Turtle Rock as well.
Have you ever seen a Popo knock somebody off of a Samaria platform?
I believe I just did. The fun part of Randomizer, those bats are not considered enemies for any kill room, so you just leave them alone.
It works in Aga 1 in Castle Tower normally too, because you can leave the bats in floor 5 alive and still get through the door.
And sometimes this maze has some nasties. We saw a yellow spike at the top there, quite visible because it decided to come out and try to get through all those obstacles to say hello to SailorNep, but she kind of lucked out with nothing really lurking in the shadows other than, shadows.
I wondered where you were setting up with that one. So far, pretty tame. I mean, Hinoxes are kind of durable, but they're pretty harmless in the long run.
Yeah, Tempered Sword makes Hinoxes a lot easier. This is a room you might consider nuke button, but that Hinox gave you a little bit of an assist on the red Tektite.
Hey, in case the enemies didn't know, friendly fire is still on.
All in all, not a terrible gauntlet here.
Oh, look, the guard barracks. It's the guard barracks ice skating room.
Alright, what's waiting for us here? There's one Viddy, and I think she was waiting for it.
I mean, we were all expecting this one. Let's be honest, this is a boss fight we could have predicted easily.
Alright, that does leave the question. The fight that we have at the top of the tower, right before Aga 2, can be a Helmasaur, a Mothula, a Cold Stare, a Vitreous.
Or an 8-eyed Moldorm.
It could be a vanilla Moldorm. That would be fun, too.
But whatever it is, first we go through what they've done to massacre the satisfying rooms in the game by putting... It's one of the biggest losses of Randomizers, losing those Wizard Robes, because the rooms just are not as satisfying anymore.
Especially when it turns them from Wizrobes into 3 Wiggly Worms that, you could probably... Oh, that was beautiful.
Okay, remember how I said it wasn't? That was still satisfying.
Yeah, that's... Oh... Nice little save there. This room likes to be a little rude. However, today it appears to be just a shadow. Okay.
You're thinking of the times we've seen spikes in the little one-tile hallway, aren't you?
I've seen moments where that room is hard gated by one of these yellow spikes here. Which this one is in a position where it actually can screw you up. Oh boy.
That was close.
Goodbye!
Those enemies are amazing. It's right there now.
And waiting at the top of Ganon's tower is our second Vitreous!
Viddy 2! This could not have gone any better, could it? So rather than having 8 eyes up here, we have like 14 of them instead.
Chat asked for double Viddy, chat got double Viddy.
And in Vitreous' last gift, we got half magic.
And now Thalane's getting bullied a little bit by this Argus here. Argus having a little bit more room to work around in this arena with the spikes keeping you off the top side.
It's still more pleasant than fighting Argus in Vitreous room.
Most things are more pleasant than fighting Argus at either Vitreous or Mothula's rooms.
And now, it's everyone's favorite subject in school, agonometry.
That was a free triple setup and well executed. And this one's looking pretty generous too.
Well, especially generous when, well, Comdare's curse, I guess, on that. But it's especially generous when you have only one hit to land. So, Thalane has to go through the Gauntlet of Eyeballs. SailorNep has to climb Castle Tower. So we've a race.
Argus in Mothula's room, pretty bad. I still don't like Vitreous in that room, personally. But luckily, it was just an Armos today. And today, we have dueling tower climbs.
I always found it nice and symbolic that Ganon's Tower mirrored Hyrule Castle by having a clearly defined lower section like Hyrule Castle main, and then a tower climb to fight the wizard. I always enjoyed that comparison between the original game and between the first and last dungeons of the game.
Alright, entering the gauntlet, Thalane, about to get past this maze, and using the cape to do so. That cape and half magic comes very handy here.
Unfortunately, we know Aga has at least 2 lightning phases. Unfortunately, we were paying attention to the big key game, so I don't know exactly how many blue balls Aga threw today.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was something along the lines of 4. And I'm not just saying that because it was my guess.
So given everything we've checked, where do you think the silver arrows are hiding? My bet's Laser Bridge.
We're almost hundo on the seas, so...
My bet's Laser Bridge.
I wouldn't be surprised to see there in Mire. It could be on that shovel, too.
I think that's the only light world check we have left, too. So, if he said... Oh, wait, there's Mimic Cave as well.
And chat is reminding us we didn't see the basement of Thieves Town either.
I'd still think Laser Bridge at this point.
Well, in just a couple minutes, we'll get that hint from Ganon, and both of these runners are going to be doing a tempered silverless.
So, Child's Play for these runners?
Child's Play. Got 15 hearts blue mail with half magic. There's no way.
1. So we got 1 in the first round. I know we get 2 second lightning phase, I believe. So I'm expecting at least... Well, actually, we're getting at least 2 here. Thalane, trying to figure out what to do here. 2.
Does Thalane make these checks for silvers? There's the 4th key.
Where was the Mimic? And SailorNep will be the first runner at Ganon.
To answer your question from chat, why were we counting? Because we didn't actually get the blue ball count the first time. So Zeke, what's the verdict?
I think it was 3. I stopped paying attention again, so...
Let's be honest here. This Ganon fight's what we really want to see. And a nice 1-1 from SailorNep. She's already in phase 3 here.
So we have our favorite subject, Agonometry, on one side, and we have Ganon teleporting way too many times on the left. And once Ganon sits still, we'll find out where the silver arrows were.
They were on Laser Bridge, or possibly
The big
in
chest.
the lava chest. Or the big chest.
Just say they were on Laser Bridge, they're always on Laser Bridge.
Alright, so setting up for some spins here. SailorNep has the fire rod out. Gonna get some triples, probably. This is going to be a double, though. And right behind her, Thalane has opened up the pyramid. He will be seeing Hyde again in just a moment.
Thalane is hoping for a Ganon fall right now.
And folks, we have bacon.
So the only enemy left in this game is a 1x3 bridge that people have fallen off of.
And that enemy does not get randomized, so this is the toughest fight that SailorNep will have to face this entire seed, and she nails it. And just like that, the 2019 Titans Bits of 2019 have forced Game 5.
Who's excited? And for reference, we have SailorNep has finished with an official racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 29 seconds.
And right behind her, Thalane in Phase 3. There's the fourth shot.
And we've been joined in the commentary booth by SailorNep. GG Nep. We are just watching Thalane finish get into Phase 4 now. But GG SailorNep. What a race.
Yeah, definitely. There were some parts I felt real good about, some parts I didn't.
So I would imagine that mirror you probably felt crazy good about.
Yeah, I was really glad I sequence broke the mountain. Even though I had to go to Hera again, I was like, the mirror's worth it because now everything's going to be smooth routing-wise.
And real quick, Thalane has beaten Ganon, and once Thalane crosses the bridge, they will have finished the seed as well. Only about a minute and a half behind SailorNep. What a close race. So get your GGs in chat for Thalane.
Yeah, we were talking a bit before the race started, and we were saying we were hoping that whatever happened, that it was one that would be interesting to watch. And based on the time difference, I'm guessing it was.
Hey. Everything we saw, we're going to welcome Thalane into the commentary booth with us. GG Thalane.
Hey, GG Snap.
GG.
A tale of two different routes. We had Nep up the mountain early for the mirror and leaving the hammer in the sunken treasure, and Thalane going all over the Dark World early. Let's talk about what you two felt about this seed and how the boss shuffle ended up really not being a factor with that very early boss mode.
Yeah, that was actually pretty interesting, getting to the point of being able to kill every boss pretty quickly. I tend to play a bit of an overworld heavy Randomizer game when the bosses are shuffled, because I very much like to, if possible, avoid having to travel to slow bosses again. It depends, though.
I think for me... sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say, for me, I thought the sea was pretty friendly, all in all, because we had all the tools to kill pretty much every boss early on. Obviously, the two Amos fights without anything really, I guess, wasn't very fun. But other than that, I think it was pretty friendly, pretty tame Randomizer. Like, I don't know, didn't play much different to vanilla enemies, I guess.
Yeah, there were actually a lot of rooms that this seed made a lot easier to traverse, especially that gauntlet climb, not giving you too much to work with in terms of having to dance around. I think there was one room, maybe Gauntlet 4 was the worst part.
Gauntlet 3, I think, had Tektites was all.
Yeah, in general, none of that was really too bad. For me, the one thing in the run that really felt bad for me was in Swamp Palace, when I went left side. If I'm going to do Diver Down and Randomizer, I like to do a viability check, where before I push the plunger, I look at the lower room to see, is there going to be a big spike in my way, something that's going to make me not able to do it? Because if so, I don't want to commit. and a wall master dropped on the door, and I didn't realize that it was going to just camp there forever. So I went back up and bye.
Wall
I did not like
Master,
that.
the worst surprises, showing up where you least expect them and sitting on that super tile where you don't want them to be.
For example, in the Icebreaker super tile.
Yeah, you both had to dance around a couple times.
Yeah, I had a little trouble getting my icebreaker done. I guess just the wall master made me nervous. It happens. I also got really lucky, and an enemy knocked me out of the way of the wall master in the previous room on the first time before I went and hit the crystal switch. That could have been bad.
Oh, that you got saved by a hard hat beetle. If you had gotten knocked in any other direction, you're right at the front door again.
Yep.
That's not something you want to do in a dungeon like Ice Palace. Gladly, it was kind of early and you managed to dodge it. Now imagine a wall master right before the cold stair drop. Not speaking from experience or anything.
I think
that room.
Yeah, that's something you just learn when you play Randomizer a little bit, and you get grabbed once, maybe twice, and then you're like, okay, next time I'll just stay there for like 5 seconds and just wait. Because you don't want that to happen ever again. I think everyone learns that lesson the hard way.
Yeah, you play enough Randomizer, you start remembering how many enemies are supposed to be in a room, and if the count looks off, you get nervous and just wait it out a couple seconds.
You see those sparkling eyes of shadows in the darkness.
Or you have a paratrooper, Stalfos, coming.
Yeah, it could be a Stalfos, it could be something else, but if you don't see the right count, just play it safe just in case.
You always expect the wall master in those situations.
So, this ties things up for Titans Myths versus Error. Got Game 5 coming up. You two excited?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good series so far. Nep winning both races pretty close, I think, and the other 2 games, as far as I remember, were also kind of close. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good watch in general. All 4 games so far. Let's hope Game 5 is going to be just as close.
Yeah. In the previous 2 seasons, I lost Game 5 in the division finals. So this time I'm not playing Game 5, so I'm like, that's good. It's not going to be on me. So I'm just going to be excited to just get to watch and it be out of my hands.
So I believe the question that chat would like to know at this point, given that with the rulings, neither of you can be a runner for Game 5. Do you guys know who is going to be running Game 5 for you guys?
For my team, that will definitely be Dante. We've already discussed that.
Yeah, and for us it's going to be Eri, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a very good match.
Yeah, you heard it here. Game 5, 2019, Titans Myths of 2019 versus Error 16. You're going to see Dante versus Aragorn. That's going to be a fun one. We'll have to keep an eye on the schedule for that one.
Are there any other thoughts from either of the runners on this seed?
Not really. I just wish I had realized a little bit earlier that Quake could have been in GT and then probably would have skipped back off pod. But I guess that's also easy to say afterwards. I just was a little bit angry when I realized. I was like, man, why am I clearing all this stuff when Quake's probably just in GT? But yeah, I got Lamp on the way, so that's good. And don't feel too bad about it. Execution was pretty okay. Yeah. And losing to anyone out of the Titans Myths team is not a shame, so I'm pretty happy with the outcome.
Yeah, this match could have easily gone either way. It was definitely a lot of fun to play, though. Really nerve-wracking. You know, you never know when that dot down might come in.
Yeah, I also think we never raced each other, so that was kind of cool as well. I'm always excited to play new people.
Yeah, I think this is a first for us.
It was pretty hard to tell late on too, like how close that was. You guys finished 90 seconds apart. When at any point in the late point of this race, SailorNep still had Skullwoods and Thievestown to go into, and we're both looking for Quake. And then the lane drops into Castle Tower after Pyramid Fair. It looked like it could have gone either way for a very long time here.
To me, it looked a lot like it could have gone either way up until, I want to say, up until the lane was on ice gave a little bit of trouble to the lane.
Let's be real here. Anything on ice will give trouble. And we see identical collection rates, 167. Well done.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Don't see that.
we planned that. No, we didn't.
You guys planned this out completely to the letter, how you would run the seed just to get a game 5.
If you collect a 168th item, you have to forfeit.
All right. Well, let's just give another GT to these two runners. These two teams have been putting on a great show for us all season long and all playoff long. This has been one heck of a series to watch. So make sure if you're not giving these a follow, do so now.
And a big shout out to Raylan Tankier, our tracker, who had to keep up with this nonsense. Because this was nonsense.
Just be glad it wasn't insanity. Yeah, and a huge shout out to my co-com Zeke Highwind, of course. Always a pleasure to work with you, Zeke.
Likewise, Zaru. Please give Zaru a follow.
And SpeedGaming family of networks, SpeedGaming 1 through 6, showing all kinds of speed runs and randomizers and anything that may tickle your fancy. We have more league action coming up, actually, as I believe there's another race later tonight. Actually, coming right after this one in about an hour. No, not an hour. I can do math, I promise. But at 6, or excuse me, I'm in Pacific time zone. At 9:10 p.m. tonight, you have Team Kappa and Phendrana Drifters. 1-up versus Megawatt. Right here on Speed Gaming Prime.
We also have an open league match in an hour. Because we have we also have 16-bit nerds versus Fromps time, AK versus Tepidino, coming up at 6:10. I believe both of those races are sitting here on Speed Gaming 1.
Back-to-back racing. If you wanted rando, we'll give you more rando. League is starting to get hot here in the playoffs.
Starting?
Oh, we're getting towards the conference finals here in the divisional round. You've got a Game 5. You've got another potential for a Game 5. And that's a Game 3 for Phendrana Drifters and Team Kappa. Phendrana Drifters looking to bring out the brooms tonight.
Yes, it's a Phendrana Drifters is looking to finish out their sweep of Team Kappa. Team Kappa will be going to try and break an unbeaten team. So that's a don't miss.
All right, any final thoughts, Zeke?
I don't have anything on this seed other than, well, Randomizer was nice today.
That's something you hear every day. Alrighty, from those of us at Speed Gaming and from the Link to the Past Randomizer League, one more GG to these two teams today. SailorNep, thalane, putting on a great show, and more to come. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time. Zeke?
Zaru. I believe that'll be all for us. So, everybody, happy racing.